Welcome to Sustaining Roots, maintaining home ownership through tax lien exemptions for the most vulnerable. Presentation by Alicia, Ryan, and Javali. Close your eyes. Picture yourself buying your dream house. What features did you invest in? Walk in closets, stainless steel appliances, wood floors? Think of all the memories you make over the years, the holidays, birthdays, and celebrations with friends and family. Now imagine 10 years from now and you've built $75,000 in equity into your home and hardship hits. Maybe it's another pandemic. Maybe you lose your job and have trouble finding another one in a timely manner. Either way, your property tax bill is due and you can't afford to pay. After all, you've been doing all you can to stay afloat over the last year and you don't have $4,500 to pay your property tax bill. All of a sudden, you get a notice that there is now a lien on your property, and that lien has been sold to someone else. Debt collectors are knocking at your door, telling you that you now owe not only the $4,500, but 18% interest and legal fees to boot. And if you don't pay, they'll foreclose the house and you'll be forced to move out. Now open your eyes to the practice that is happening in cities all over the US. Whether you've only owned your home for a few years, you've owned your home outright, or your home has been in your family for generations, you could have your home taken away from you due to this practice. The Baltimore Sun and HuffPost share a story in 2010 about Vicki Valentine, an unemployed Baltimore homeowner, where redemption costs made it impossible for her to redeem. The Baltimore Sun reported that she had fallen behind on a $362 water bill she owed the city. After interest, penalties, and legal fees accrued, the debt ballooned to $3,600, 10 times the original amount. The tax certificate purchaser eventually foreclosed on the home, and Ms. Valentine was later evicted. HuffPost writes, as snow threatened to fall, she watched a work crew, hired by the new owners, punch out the lock on her front door. A sheriff's deputy was on the scene while Valentine and her teenage son piled whatever they could into a borrowed car. Running out of time, Valentine scrambled to pack up clothing and mementos. The home had been in her family for nearly 3 decades, and her father had paid off the mortgage in 1984. It's hard to say goodbye to this house, she said. It's like someone is forcing you out of something that belongs to you. I don't get it. Home ownership is recognized as one of the biggest ways for families to build wealth, generational wealth, and economic security. As such, tax lien sales undermine many people's ability to build stability and wealth, especially vulnerable populations. African and Black Americans and other people of color who have historically been excluded from homeownership dating back to before the practice of redlining. While property taxes are recognized as a legitimate form of taxation, the practice of selling liens to recoup these taxes should be scrutinized. Half of the counties in the US sell liens at auctions to investors in hope of recouping back taxes, but this system fails to recognize the damage it's doing to communities that results in the deterioration and value of the land that they're trying to tax. Thus, they reduce the future tax value of the land. Baltimore's long-established tax sale of delinquent taxes and other municipal bills to the highest bidder enriches often out-of-town, well-financed private investors at the expense of the city's poorest homeowners. And it's a prime example of why this doesn't work for communities. If you walk down the streets of Baltimore, you can see the effects of this policy. Houses are boarded up and neighborhoods are experiencing blight. The property value of land stays stagnant or is in decline, unless some developer comes in and tries to gentrify the neighborhood. But gentrification is not the answer to raising land value in Baltimore. Investment without the displacement of people is the answer. So many cities are trying to figure out what this magic formula to prevent gentrification is while increasing land value. But we think Baltimore is prime real estate to make happen to make this happen. Right now, thousands of Baltimore homeowners are confronted with losing their homes each year at public auction for unpaid property taxes, a process that can be extremely confusing for homeowners. The knowledge seems to sit with savvy investors, who, of course, would not be willing to share their trade secrets. A small group of local people who were upset at the draconian practice happening in Baltimore and across the nation have come together to try to gain the level of understanding that these investors seem to have and to persuade the city of Baltimore to carefully examine the practice and adjust policy accordingly. They have also started the Stop Oppressive Seizures Fund, or SOS Fund, to help residents struggling with making their tax payments and to prevent them from losing their home because of it. We interviewed Andre Robinson of the Robinson Group and Nika Namdi of Fight Blight Baltimore, and they spoke to us about the broken system and their commitment to better understanding the tax lien sales landscape that is tearing up Baltimore neighborhoods. They've been working alongside Tim Chance and John Kern of Maryland Volunteer Lawyer Service and Bree Jones of Parity Real Estate. Each person in this group has dedicated time out of their busy schedules to research and advocate for policy change in Baltimore. Andre, Nika, Bree, Tim, and John understand that Baltimore is especially in need of reform, as Baltimore City's threshold and rate of redemption was even more unfavorable to Baltimore residents compared to residents in other cities. For example, a Baltimore City resident could lose their home for as little as $250, whereas a DC resident would have to owe at least $2,500 before their tax lien is sold off. Furthermore, other cities cap interest rates from 2 to 12%, while Baltimore can charge as much as 18%. When speaking about the challenges they faced when fighting the sale of property tax liens, Andre said that it felt like a game of hide the football. No one could really tell us where the linchpin was. Where's the place where someone says, this is a good practice and we should continue it? Nika went on to further explain other challenges that prevent positive changes in policy. First off, she said, there's a negative narrative that people are trying to game the system, when it is simply not the case. Many Baltimoreans are on a fixed income, and when hard times hit, they can easily fall behind, and payment structures aren't set up to help people with low and fixed income to be able to afford a once-a-year lump sum payment. Instead, Baltimore should be accepting of and establish a monthly payment plan for those who have a hard time affording a lump sum payment. Another challenge is that many elected officials don't seem to understand the tax sale process, their power within the tax sale process, or that it's a matter of equity, where Black people and people of color are more vulnerable. Furthermore, she explained that the finance department seemed hell-bent on maintaining the draconian process in exchange for pennies, because they fear they are not going to get their money if people don't have consequences for not paying. But the consequences clearly aren't working, and people are losing their homes. Spaces remain vacant with no one responsible to make tax payments to the city, and the city is losing because of it. The city of Baltimore needs to shift focus from trying to recoup back taxes to trying to keep people in their homes. If Baltimoreans stay in their homes and cities work with those who are having trouble paying instead of automatically selling the lien, the landscape of Baltimore could shift from vacant homes and land and blight to vibrant neighborhoods where people stay and live. In August of 2020, after the members of the SOS Fund had several conversations with elected officials and built awareness around the problem, city officials recognized a need for shift in policy. Councilwoman Danielle McRae introduced City Council Bill 20-0593, which was co-sponsored by Ryan Dorsey, Sharon Green Middleton, John T. Bullock, Mary Platt Clark, Leon Pinkett III, Zeke Cohen, Robert Stokes Sr., Shannon Sneed, Christopher Burnett, Edward Reisinger, and signed by the Baltimore City Mayor, Brandon M. Scott, on November 2nd, 2020, which exempts from tax sales those who are low income, elderly, or on disability, and have resided in their home for at least 3 years. More specifically, it states that the Director of Finance shall withhold from sale a dwelling owned by a homeowner who has resided in the dwelling for at least 3 years and either has a combined income of less than $40,000, is at least 65 years old, or is an adult receiving disability benefits from the Federal Social Security Disability Insurance Program or the Supplemental Security Income Program. But the passing of this bill, of the city ordinance, is it enough? Andre and Nika appreciate that it is the first step in the right direction, but they both recognize that it won't protect enough people, specifically those who don't have the deed of the house in their name. When a house is in the family for generations, many haven't gone through the process of changing the name of the person on the deed, resulting in a tangled title. It can be a costly process, and many aren't aware of the process to begin with. And like we mentioned before, homeowners should be able to have access to flexible payment methods so that they can more easily plan and afford their tax payments to begin with. Further commitments and policies can promote both responsible tax payments and home ownership, including varying the length of the redemption period, which means shorter redemption periods for abandoned and vacant properties, while longer year-long or multi-year redemption periods for homeowners that allow for recovery from economic setbacks. We can also provide enhanced notice to at-risk homeowners and place reasonable limitations on additional fees and costs. We believe that the new young city leadership has tremendous opportunity to build momentum towards promoting equitable development in Baltimore. So join us in taking action. 3 ways that you can help. You can donate to the SOS Fund, refer a homeowner in need to the SOS Fund, or share your tax sale story. Whether it is good, bad, or neutral, the SOS Fund wants to hear from those with the lived experience.